Hey guys, Steve here. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about some planer board upgrades. There's a lot of talk about planer boards and what all can be done with them. And anybody that fishes a lot knows that there's a lot that goes into a planer board. You don't just usually grab a planer board off the shelf and go out and run it. You know, a couple things come into play. It depends on what type of species that you're targeting. You know, whether it be walleye, which is a lot of times what a lot of guys use the planer boards for. But, you know, inline planer boards too are used a lot in the salmon world out there in the Great Lakes. And myself, we do a lot of salmon fishing. So boards can get quite pricey once you start putting, you know, some of the upgrades and things on them that make these boards perform the way that you really truly want them to perform. So you know, not everybody's sponsored by these, you know, tackle companies and things like that. So, you know, they're looking for cost-effective ways to do things and get the best bang for their buck. So one of the things that that I've done here is I've taken, you know, a lesser expensive board to buy and went ahead and put a lot of upgrades on it and turned it into a well-performing board, and still having a lot less money into it than you would have if you started out with a better board. So this is actually an example of one of our salmon boards, and this is set up for salmon. Now, you know, this is a opti tackle board. You know, a lot of people don't like them or whatever, but this is just your standard. You know, there's no spring on there. It's set. It locks in. I've got a few upgrades on this board. You know, these boards come with these type of clips here. Which these type of clips here, anybody that's used them know that they're really not the greatest clips or the easiest clips to use in the world. So what I've done here with this one is, you know, I've taken this opti tackle planer board here and I've upgraded the back clip with the OR18, which OR18 has a pin, which the pin, anybody that knows, is helps keep the board from coming off. And you don't want to lose these boards. You know, you'll see the names on there. We write our names on there, and hopefully it's some of the honest people out there that find the boards that will return them to us. But not everybody's like that. In the front, we have this is a Scotty's release, and you know, when you're hauling even a, you know, 100 copper, 150 copper, some of these, you know, smaller coppers and lead cores that you run with some of these smaller boards, and you get a fish on the back of it, that's a lot to bring in. So, you know, we tend to want to have our boards release, which, you know, that's where these Scotties will come into play. You know, you jerk the line and having it set properly, these will release, which turns it back, and this drifts. Now you have this on the line, and then you're just fighting. You're fighting just a fish. Come in, release the clip off the board. Now you're just fighting the fish. So what I've done today is I wanted to show you how here in Michigan is unique. You know, you can fish. One day you can go fish salmon on one side of the, you know, in Lake Michigan. Next day you can go over to Lake Erie, Saginaw Bay, fish walleye. So, you know, a lot of guys, they'll have, you know, 8 boards that they're running, and to have them set up for salmon really doesn't work for walleye, because when you do it in the walleye, this is just the example board I got set up. You're going to want what is, you know, a tattle flag. So when you get a fish, it shows the flag goes down, then you got a fish on, and same tag. This is just a smaller board here. So what I want to show you is one of the upgrades that I've done here, and I like it a lot better. On these boards, the factory boards that you get, on the back of them, you'll look, there's a metal piece that runs from the back to your clip, which pulls the flag down. Okay. And anybody that's fished a while knows that after a while, these things get all bent up, and they, you know, you start fighting fish, and then you throw them in the boat and fish after trips. These get all bent up, and they're a pain in the butt. And you know, you can get replacements. This is one here. You can get replacements, and they're a few dollars, you know, each to get the replacements. So, you know, it doesn't seem like a lot, but it's just a pain. So what I want to show you today is something that I come up with here. Is this is a board that I got built, and this is set up right now. It's set up for walleye. It's got a tattle flag on it. This is an upgraded flag, tattle flag here. You can get this, and it has multiple holes up the flag, which gives it a lot more adjustments with your spring. You can set your tension. You know, this time of year in the spring, you tend to get a lot bigger fish. So, you know, it doesn't take much to pull it down, but you're also pulling jerk baits and crank baits and things like that. So they're heavier going through the water, so you're going to get more drag. You know, if you're set up for crawler harnesses, you're going to want it like a light bite, because you might get some perch as well. So you're going to have it set tension down into a smaller hole, so it takes less to pull it back. So that's where all these holes come into play. So the upgrade I want to show you today is this. So if you'll notice on the back, it looks similar. But what that is it's actually coated cable. Okay, so I can twist it, I can break it, whatever. It doesn't matter. This here can bend, twist, whatever, and it always works. Comes right back to the thing. The best part about this is you can do all your boards for under $5. So what it's going to take is, you can get this, I got this at our local sports shop, $2.50. This is 60-pound nylon coated cable from Berkeley, and 30 feet of it. These here are steel wire sleeves, $1.99 at the local sports shop. Couple beads, just your standard 8mm beads. And then part of the upgrade, you're going to need these little 5/8 inch eyelets. So you'll need an eyelet, because if you notice on these boards, this is in the front. Okay, you'll see this eyelet here. Well, what you're going to want to do is on the back, you're going to take, there's a hole pre-drilled right here. You're going to want to take that eyelet you'll just screw it right into the plastic. Take it down. You're going to want that vertical here. So it's going to be part of that. Like that. Okay. And then what you're going to do also is you're going to need a nylon washer. This one here I got all set up and ready to go. All you got to do is add the cable. But you'll see there's a nylon washer here that goes back behind that flag. I get those at the hardware store. They're a 3/8 inch nylon washer. Just a few cents. They're like 20 cents a piece. They're real cheap. Screw that in. You're going to want to set it so it's loose. But what we're going to do is I take a piece of that nylon coated cable, and I've measured it, but 18 inches is what I've come up, and it gives me a little bit of slack, and I can cut some off. But what we're going to do is we're going to feed that wire right through the hole. There's a hole in the flag, and that's going to come through the flag, and it's going to pull on the flag. You're going to take one of the wires here, pull it right through the back eyelet. Okay, and then I bring the front around so it's about halfway to the halfway point. Okay, now I'm going to take one of these steel sleeves and feed it on that wire on the end. Feed it all the way through that eyelet. Just going to bring it down here and set it kind of right here in the middle. I'm going to take my bead, I'm going to put that on the end, feed that on. I'm going to take another sleeve and I'm going to put that on over that. Okay. So if you can see that, you got your bead, you got your sleeve, other sleeves in the middle. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this cable and I'm going to feed it through that sleeve. I'm also going to feed it right through the eye. Pull that down. So I pulled that right down, so I got a little eye right here. See if I can get it to focus. And then once I got a little eye here, that's going to be big enough for me to put one of these snap rings on later. So then all you really need, you need a set of these crimping pliers that I use for a lot of things, but you're going to take that and just go like that and crimp it. So that's on there. Can't go anywhere. So then that's going to feed, that bead's going to be the stop. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take, I got that collar and I got it here in the middle. Take my end, I'm going to feed that through that collar, and then I'm going to take my other end, I'm going to feed that through that collar. And what I do is I bring my flag back, and then I bring my back right tight, and then I hold them, all three wires here, and then I pull my cable up, because I want this straight. So when I put my spring on, I want my flag straight up. So I'm going to hold it to where it's straight up. When it's tight, it's straight up. And then I'm going to bring my crimping pliers here. Bring them in. Crimp it down. So now, when I pull that up tight, that's straight. Okay, that's got no spring on it, so that's straight up. Like that. So what I like to do, I'm pretty picky on stuff, so I'm going to take a pair of wire cutters and cut those wires off short. I don't want them catching on anything like my fingers or anything while I'm out fishing. Okay, so if you look at that up close, right, you got that cable, and it's going to wire around the flag here. That brings it up there like that. So then all that's left is you got your spring. It's an offshore tackle spring or whatever. You can get these at the hardware store for pennies, but this is an actual ORS2 offshore springs, come in a 2-pack. So I'm going to feed that down in the bottom, bring that up around my flag, just like that. So now what I got is my flag and my spring goes up and down. And there's multiple holes right here that I can adjust my tension to. So on this one, I've already got a Scotty release here. And on these Scotties, what I like about them is there's an adjustment screw right down there. Now, for walleye, you're going to want to have it set pretty sensitive because you're using lighter tackle and you want to just pop it. And when you pop it, this pops open, your line comes off, it flips around, you're reeling, this is drifting back, there's no resistance against the board at all. You're just feeling the fish. You're not, and then this will also float back behind the boat. so it gets, you know, you don't have to reel in your other lines and such. So what else I'm going to do is, like I showed you before, I got an OR18, and on there's a pin. So on the OR18 there's a pin right here. See that pin? Now when you click that down, that pin goes through that hole right there. So then if you got a line through there, it can't come out. And these are a little pricey. I want to say these are probably $12, $13 a piece. Another alternative here, this is the OR16. And the OR16 is the red clip. And inside the red clip, there's a pin. And then you put that line behind the pin, and that's going to keep that from popping out. Because the biggest thing is you don't want the board to pop off and you lose a board and it's floating out there. Because if you got 8-10 lines out and you lose a board, it takes a lot to turn around to go get that board. So basically all that's left is, remember during our salmon, this board here, I got this eyelet on the front of the board. I clip this there. I adjust the screw down tighter. I can take this and I can use this for salmon, you know, lake trout, whatever, steelhead, out on the Lake Michigan side. So on Friday I'm salmon fishing. Buddy's called. They're getting some walleye over in Saginaw Bay. We go the next day. I can take the same boards, unscrew it, or take it off of here. I got my cable back here. I take it, hook that right to it. Simple as that. That board's on there. That board's on there. My flag works. I loosen up my release, set that while I'm fishing. Boom, I got a walleye board. This can stay on there the whole time. This is going to give you the flag during your salmon, because everybody likes to use that. During storage, you take this down. There's a little thing on the back. You can put your flag behind there. It sticks in there. You can store it just fine, hang it down, whatever you got to do. But these cables, they don't bend like the metal. They're flexible. You can, you know, flop them around or whatever. They're nice. They're smooth, and I really like it. So that's one of the things you can do. And like I said, to buy these things for $5, you can go out and you can upgrade all 8 boards. It's real simple to do. And then you can have boards that you can walleye fish on one day, salmon fish the next day. You're upgrading your clips. So just in this board, these boards here to buy without the tattletale kits, they're about $16 for the board. So you got $16 for the board. These releases, these Scotty releases, are about $10 a piece, and I believe offshores carry them now, but they were always Scotties when I've been using them for a few years now. And then these are OR18, so these OR18s are 12, 13 bucks a piece. So you're looking at, you know, in the grand scheme of things, you got a nice board here. You know, you're 45, 50 bucks. And it sounds like a lot, but when you go here and you buy a offshore board, and you're talking $25 just for the board, and then you start doing the same similar upgrades, you know, your Scotty release, and I've done the same thing here. I got the cable in the back. This has got an OR16 on it. You're talking, you've got $50, $60 into this board, but you've got a pro-grade board with all the upgrades, and you're not going to lose it. Depends on how much you fish, and that's, you know, one of the things that nobody really talks about. But a lot of these guys, it's just little things that they do when they're fishing that it upgrades it, you know. And these things also too, I bought at the sports shop, these flags. This is an upgrade flag. You'll see the standard flag here is straight up, doesn't have any extra holes. You just wrap the spring around the flag itself. These ones actually have holes that go up. It gives you more tension, and it puts us on a bigger angle, so you got nice tension. It really works well. So these are some of the upgrades that I've done. This cable works really nice. So hope that helps. Thanks a lot, guys.